whole year went by. I didn't book anything. I remember, I think it was like October of 2011. I had paid rent. I had nothing in my bank account after that. And I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen because I don't know. And then the next week I booked my first gig, and it was the first national tour of Hair. And so that was my first gig out of college, which was like a dream. So yeah, so I did that for, it was the last leg of the tour. And I don't know if they still have it, but even after that, I tried to get an agent, and Equity had these agent access auditions where you could sign and you could be seen by agents. And so I did that for a while, until I was signed by my first agent. And yeah, after that, I was still hustling, like for probably like 4 or 5 years after that. I was randomly getting things here and there. And yeah, I took class when I could and could afford it. And still kept auditioning. And after a couple years of auditioning like that, casting directors will know who you are. Will remember you, know your work, and so they'll start calling you in, for projects that they think you're right for. And things didn't really start picking up for me until I feel like 2016, maybe.
I think that's
when
I
feel like, yes, it was. I feel like the Scottish play was like the starting of like
everything else.
I'm a working actor. Like I am like, I mean, I'm still like auditioning in between the things, but like I'm booking. I'm booking.
Which you were
and then
phenomenal in.
What?
I said you were phenomenal in it. You was the third witch.
That definitely, that was one of my, to this day, one of my favorite theater experiences. Because I'm like a kid. I am such a theater nerd in a sense of like, I love the like creating like worlds, I love, and the play. It's like, I love feeling like I am back in like acting one. When you're like, close the light, look at the picture, now close the lights, and let's just make a sound.
You just feel like a kid, like a big kid.
So great. I mean, I have to pinch myself sometimes because I'm like, I get to play for a living. Like I get to, I just in this rehearsal, I'm like, God, I get to like sing and like listen to this beautiful music for a living, and it's so, I'm just very blessed.
I feel that. You mentioned like there were some rough periods. What were some things that you either did or said to yourself, anything that kept you motivated and grounded? What were those things for you?
I realized I always come back to the work. I always try to like come back to the work, because work's not always going to be there. I'm sorry, I should say not work. The working on my craft. In those drives, if you can, like, even if, like my friends during quarantine, they had this thing where they would send out an email and they would have readings every week of just a play, and anyone who could come on, we would, so it was that we would just read through the play, and it was still a muscle. This is a muscle, right? And so we need to keep it fresh. And I think that finding ways to in the, I guess, dry spells of you're not getting hired, it's coming back to the craft and like taking that time to hone your craft in any way, taking that time to like do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the time, especially when you get booked a lot, you can also get into the trap of only singing or only doing work that is for this purpose and not, you know, things that you want to sing or you really feel, you know.
Like fueling your own soul first.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. And take that time to rest. Like take those times to do also other things, right? Yes, do the work and work on your craft, but also we play people on stage, and so any type of experience or that you can have. I mean, New York is full of things. You can go to museums, parks, have like conversations with friends, go people watching. That's what I like to do that too sometimes, just like watch certain people, their behaviors, how they speak to one another, young people, older people. It's really fascinating. Like I'll be on the subway sometimes, and I remember this one time I was just watching a little kid with his mom or something, and how he moved and how it's like, oh, he's like everything's like new and like everything's like play, and he has to move all the time, and I don't know, I was like, well, I'm gonna make a note that if I ever have to play like, you know, a child or like childlike, like I don't know. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, you're making perfect sense. Like the act of observing others, you know, you're taking in, I always say, like, we're taking in a ton of information, more information than we actually realize we are. And so when you're intentionally focusing on these specific areas of like the human body and like how everybody moves, and then going even further and asking yourself, okay, well, why do they move that way? That is where the art comes in. It's like you're creating this whole backstory to them.
Exactly. I wasn't the best at giving myself encouragement when I was younger, and in those dry spells, you know, a lot of negative self-talk would come in, a lot of doubt, a lot of fear, a lot of insecurities will come out. And they still do. I'm much better now with the tools I have, but and I think that comes with time, and I think that comes with experience and having to get yourself out of those things over and over again. Those but I would say, you know, two things that are certain is everything changes and we die. Certain things in life, right? So this will change.
Yeah.
It's not it's like the weather.
Yeah.
You know, it will always be.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like definitely a mantra that I've held on to. This won't always.
The we die is always in my head. No, but that's always in my
everything changes and we die.
Like I always think about, I'm like, I know I'm gonna die one day. Like that is just a fact. So why am I was hanging out with a friend of mine. Actually my old vocal coach. We were just catching up over coffee, and she took me to this cafe, and she was like, you have to try the scones. And she goes, I don't waste money on bad calories. And I was like, yes.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That has stuck with me since I saw her, because I'm like, you know what? We overthink everything, and we try to live this perfect regimented life, and I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna like get the extra calories, let it be for something good.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna
Right.
I'm not gonna have this delicious scone and then die the next moment.
Exactly. That is the truest of true.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think what's also beautiful is also me coming into realization of like a lot of the things and the negative things that did come into my mind, realizing that that's learned. That's not that these are not, we are not born with these, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a fight to unlearn and unlearn and unlearn and unlearn. And I've been really blessed with having especially women around me to be able to hold me and support me in those times. So having a community is so important because none of us can do this alone.
No.
None of us. So
you also you also mentioned that earlier when you were talking about like why you love theater so much, and I'm like, there is this community aspect to theater, and I love just the art of collaborating with other human beings. You're gaining different perspectives, different ideas, and I think that that's what drew me into theater. Like I'm an only child, so of course anything that like involves other people, like I'm gonna like gravitate. Let me not sit in my room and talk to myself for hours and hours and hours, which I can, but it's so much more fun when you're doing something that is also meaningful. Like there are so many pieces out there. Speaking of, actually, I had a thought. What is your dream role, or like what's a piece of work that maybe you have done it too, but you like want to sink your teeth into?
When I was younger, I think every young every young girl who was in my age range wanted to be Elphaba. Broadway.
Yeah.
That was my dream when I was younger. And now it's kind of like I would love to. I don't know if it's made yet. I don't know if the role is made yet. I know every time I get asked this question, I'm like, I should have an answer. I should think of an answer, but I don't know. I don't know.
That's okay.
I mean, obviously, Eliza was definitely up there, and I play her, which is great.
Yeah, you're in Hamilton, Chicago.
Oh,
how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously the biggest show I'd done, and playing, and it was like a journey for me because I had been going in for it for 4 years until I booked it. The first time I ever went in for it was, I think, 2014. And then I booked it in 2018.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
no, I've heard that process can be long.
Yeah, it definitely can be long. But again, what I learned was, when I first came into the process, I was like, this is what I want. I want to play her. If I get into play her. And so every other time it was always for like the cover, for like the sister cover, for things I didn't want to play. And so, and I think that during that time in my life, I was finally confident enough in myself that even if things happen all the time in theater, and certain things turn out amazing, and certain things sometimes turn out in a way that you didn't think. And so I'm glad that I was of that age and had that experience under my belt, because it was both amazing and life things, and happening. So I was, at least I was able to still like do my job and do my work and proudly do it, instead of doubting all the time, you know. I don't, that's the worst, when you're like in a role that you're dreaming of and it's just doubt, right? So it was nice to be able to be in that space of like in the role that I wanted and being like, I got this.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah.
Well, we're gonna wrap up in a few more minutes. I have a couple more questions. What advice would you give to a young person who actually loves the art, who loves singing, who loves acting, but isn't 110% confident that they can do it or they can pursue it? I guess like what I'm trying to say is, what would you say to that person like who's like in that crossroads? Like, do I do the thing that I love, or do I take the other path?
I would say just try.
So what?
Try it.
Oh.
Try. I would say no one is 100% on anything. Nothing is guaranteed. Again, two things. It always changes. You can always change your mind. You can always go one way and go another way. Decide to go another way. You know. I know back in the day, we were told like, if this isn't all you see, then don't even like see in your life doing, then don't even try. It's like theater or bust. I'm like, no.
I got that taught to
like, no. I would say really like try to listen to yourself. Try to listen to see if that's fear talking, or if that's your heart being like, this isn't right for me. And that's really hard to decipher sometimes. So that's why it's good to have community to maybe talk about it, you know, write, journal, if you like to do that. But if you find that it's fear or doubt, try your best to just keep walking forward, you know, and going what you really want. And also, if you're walking there and you're like, you know what, actually, no, this is not for me, you can always go another way. And that's okay too.
Yes.
That's okay. You know, you hear stories all the time about, you know, gung-ho people who are like on the trajectory to and doing this and that, and then they do something else. Or people who, I don't know, were doing a bunch of things, you know, different things until they were 50. Like, actually, I kind of want to try this. And now they're like big, you know, they're on HBO and they're on, you know, so there is no, it's not linear. There is no one path. And what may be right for you doesn't mean it's right for somebody else, and vice versa. And everyone has their own timing, you know. That's really, really hard to understand when you're young, because well, at least it was for me, because you will have people who you go to school with who will be successful right after, like really really will reach those dreams or things that you want much faster than you, right? And that's just the way it is sometimes. It's no right or wrong. It's not that you're worse or better. That's just how the world works and life works sometimes. But you feel deeply that this is your calling and this is what you want to do, I mean, there's no time. This is the moment, you know. All we have is this moment, and now we are not guaranteed the future. The past is gone. And so just try your best to kind of breathe and figure out, like, in this moment, what is right for you, and know that you can always change your mind.
I love that. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Jamila, for all of your words of wisdom and your time. Everybody check out Jamila on her Instagram. Let's type it in there at Jamila. At Jamila Joy. Make sure you follow her and see what she is up to next. Where is your current show?
It's at the Alley Theatre in Houston, Texas.
So if we have any Cowboys fans, on over to Houston. Yes, at the Alley Theatre. Yes. Oh, I'll let you tell my cousin. I have a couple of peeps over there. Be like, hey,
yeah.
I'll send them over.
Yeah, please do.
But thank you so much, Jamila. We'll talk more later.
Yeah. Thanks.
Have a wonderful evening. And thank you all for joining us.
Thanks for joining, y'all.
Bye.